Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. To my right, Ian Donnis and Arlene Violet. Our guest for the second half, he's running for Attorney General Erik Wallen. Erik, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You have been critical of Patrick Lynch and how he handled the landfill audit, saying he should have pursued criminal charges. Now, I covered some of that story. I spoke with State Police Lieutenant Colonel Stephen O'Donnell. He told me, look, it just wasn't there. So if you're getting that kind of advice from the detectives, how would you have acted any differently?
I think what I have been asking for is for the Attorney General to disclose exactly what crimes it is that they looked at, because we heard from the state police that there were in fact crimes committed. Just the Attorney General has said that none of them were prosecutable. What I've been asking...
Stop for a second. You've heard from the state police crimes were committed. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. In fact, it was Colonel Doherty who made a statement that crimes were committed, but that some of those crimes were, in his opinion, not prosecutable because of the statute of limitations or uncooperative witnesses. What I've been asking for is for the Attorney General to explain what exact crimes were there that were committed and exactly why were those not prosecuted, specifically which ones were committed.
But didn't the Colonel give you the answer on that?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to speak to the Colonel. He's made these statements in the press.
Meaning, I understand, but the statements in the press meaning that the statute of limitations has passed, and it's very difficult to get around that.
Well,
so how would you have handled it differently if you were Patrick Lynch?
If I were Patrick Lynch?
Yeah.
First of all, I would have, one of the things that I'm going to do as Attorney General is have a public corruption task force. This would be a 3 seasoned prosecutors, an investigator, and a forensic auditor. We're going to have a tip line available where people can make 24-hour calls to the Attorney General's office to report corruption. So I believe that if I had been the Attorney General and I'd had this public corruption task force in place, we wouldn't have had to wait until a governor ordered an audit to find out what was going on at the landfill. You know how effective it is to have those kinds of tips lines. I saw your story on the fraud investigators at the Department of Labor and Training because of a tip called in. It's critical. I think the key to this is that why are people calling television stations or radio stations with these tips? I think it's perhaps because the Attorney General's office has not had public corruption as a top priority in the office.
Relative to the Resource and Recovery Corporation, Treasurer Caprio has mentioned going after the liability insurance of the directors. That has been poo-pooed by Attorney General Lynch. Your position?
I found it quite offensive, quite frankly. I applaud Treasurer Caprio for trying to seek some sort of redress for the people of the state of Rhode Island with regard to those policies. The Attorney General has at every aspect of the landfill case tried to drop it like a hot potato. Treasurer Caprio comes up with an idea, suggests that we should go after these policies to get some money. The Attorney General's response is, it's not easy, there are legal hurdles, and then he suggests that it smacks of politics.
Should he have appointed a special prosecutor in light of his lobbying and his firm earning lots of money from the Resource and Recovery Corporation? In fact, the Attorney General himself, before he was elected Attorney General, actually lobbied to have that land deal legislation passed that is at the very heart of the corruption audit that was done.
Right. I believe the Attorney General should have recused himself, and I'll explain why. First of all, he, in fact, as you pointed out, was a lobbyist for resource recovery. He earned $18,400 alone from resource recovery that went to him, not just to the firm. He was involved in lobbying for the $16 million industrial park, which was one of the items highlighted in the audit as being a major issue in terms of the waste and the insider deals that were cut. He also lobbied for a change in terms of the law regarding the zoning of the property that was purchased from then Mayor Massera and members of his family. So he was involved, quite frankly, in a significant portion of what was highlighted in the audit. He should have, in the interest of transparency, revealed to the people of Rhode Island exactly what his dealings were. And as an attorney, I sit back and I say, you know, we're obligated to take a look at our dealings in the past when we get involved in another case, and we have to determine whether or not there's a conflict, or even the appearance of a conflict. Here, the Attorney General may well have information that might have been helpful to the investigators of this case, and yet he sits there not telling the people of Rhode Island his involvement. We don't know if he shared information with the state police or with the auditors about what he knew because of his lobbying actions. This raises great concern. He should at this point recuse himself from further investigations in the landfill, and he should fully disclose everything that he had to do related to this investigation.
The Director of Resource Recovery told us on this program that the problems at the landfill illustrate wider concerns with a lack of oversight for the state's more than 20 quasi-public agencies. So if you're elected Attorney General, would you sponsor or seek the introduction of legislation to increase oversight of the quasi-public agencies, and how should that be done?
I think it's a good, I think oversight of quasi-public agencies is important. They operate kind of outside the normal sphere of other government agencies. It's clear that we have a problem at the resource recovery, and it was a very big one. So I would encourage, and I'll look at that when I'm Attorney General and put together a proposal to in fact address that issue.